So everybody, welcome to today's video. This is probably going to be our hardest rebuild yet. Obviously, we've rebuilt a reasonable amount of like decently good teams. Yeah, we put this up on the community page seeing who we want to sort of bring back the light. I wanted to play with a team that used to be pretty good and then they just completely fell off. Obviously, we had like Parma in there, we had Leeds in there, we have Deportivo La Coruña. Obviously, that's who we're playing today. And yeah, the poll was pretty close between Parma and Deportivo. Honestly, Deportivo was a team that I used to remember. They always played well against Barcelona and Real Madrid. Like, they weren't one of the top teams that were always around winning everything, but like, they give a good run themselves. I remember vaguely Rivaldo playing for them, but the one that I always remember playing for Deportivo La Coruña was Diego Tristan. And one of the old FMs, he was absolutely disgusting. But like I said, they've kind of fell off a bit. A few of you were saying it's a lot to do with like financial reasons and stuff. I looked at their team. The only way I can describe this team is they old as fuck. Because if you go in, they still have a relatively good reputation. They have 3-star reputation, 3-star training facilities. Youth facilities are also 3-star. Obviously, the youth recruitment needs a little bit of work. It's only a 1.5 stars. But if you go into their history, obviously they have won the Spanish title, but it was in 2000. I mean, it was 25 years ago. The Spanish Cup, the last time they won that was in 2002, so like 23 years ago. So obviously they've won things since then, like 2012 won the Spanish second division and stuff, but the last time they won anything in the top flight was at least 20 like odd years ago. So yeah, I would like to try and change that, but obviously our goal for this is, I don't know how long this video is going to go on for. I always do like a 5-year rebuild, but I feel like because we're starting in the second division, this may go on for a little longer, because my ideal thing would be get them up in the European football at some point. Obviously, getting out of this division is going to be the hardest part. This team is not great at all, and the team is very, very old. We don't have any money. I think we've got like, was it like £1 million in transfer, and we've got £17 in wages, and I can't even move the £1 million in transfer over to the wages. It won't let me. So yeah, we can't even bring anybody in, because my first goal was going to be obviously go and look and see who's on the freeze, who's on the approach of signs and stuff, and obviously we can't do that if we've got no wages. So yeah, the teams, it's going to be a little rough, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. They do have a few decent niche players. I think the standout one in the team is going to be Mohamed Al-Baldini, the striker. Obviously 6 foot, physical stats are really good, mental stats are really good. He's very, very good for this league, I would say. Honestly, I'm surprised we actually have him, and we do have him for a long time. It's there till 2027. They've currently just bought him, don't know how much for, obviously it doesn't say on the transfer fee, but he's probably our standout. We do have an old FM wonder kid that's obviously not that great anymore. Charlie Bettino had a ton of potential, never really went anywhere. Obviously if Arsenal went on loan to Blackpool and then went to Deportivo La Coruña, don't know how much for once again, but like, he's pretty decent, but like physical stats are they're not great. We do have one decent centre back, and Pablo Martinez. Honestly, he's probably our only decent centre back, and there's an issue with him. He's gonna be 36 soon. This team is very, very old. We do have a couple of decent young players in Rafael Abrador. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's also Spanish, because obviously it's going to help with registration. We do have to watch that as well. I think you can have less non-EU players. I think it's, what is it, 4 in the top flight and 3 in the next one, or it's the other way around. It's 3 up there and then 2 down here. I'll have to watch. I have to check the registration number. So this is the team I've kind of put together so far. Like I said, honestly, boys, it's not great. We have Heldon Leita, 33-year-old keeper. Honestly, he's not bad for this division. And then I did bring a wee guy up from like the second team, Pablo Garcia. Look, is he great? No, but we don't have any other great young fullbacks. He's only 16. He's Spanish, going to help with registration. He's very quick. He's got decent defending, decent crossing, and like I said, his tackling and marking is pretty solid. Mental stats are okay, but he's got high determination. And then moving into the midfield, honestly, I'm gonna have to play a 4-3-3. I'm gonna have to pull the best tactic out of the bag, boys. I've also set up like a good corner routine, set up good throw-in routines and stuff. Obviously, all that will be in the pinned comments down below if you want to go and check this out along with the save file whenever the video goes live. Because yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Navarro is our second best centre back, and if I'm being realistic, he's more of like a mid-tier DM. Honestly, look, he's Spanish. Once again, he's 34. Everybody in his team is very, very old. Villarreal, our defensive midfielder. Honestly, he's not bad. He's 28, good for this division. Honestly, and the worst part is a lot of these players are not worth any money. So like, even if I wanted to sell Navarro, who has somebody interested in him, who wants him, FC Groningen, he's only worth 28,000 to 70,000. So even if we sold him, we're not going to get much money. And then Esquerdo is an old one. I know he's technically a left back and he's 34. I'm going to have to play him in midfield. We don't have any other great midfielders. So unfortunately, he's going to have to play in here. And then we have this guy who is 20 years old. He's Argentinian. As far as I remember, he's in on loan. He's not even ours. Look, he's explosive, got decent dribbling and crossing and stuff, so he's going to play as one of our inside forwards. Herrera is going to be our other inside forward. He's also 33, but he's relatively decent. And like, but the problem is with this team, once you get past this starting 11, things are pretty bad. Like, if you look through, like, we scroll through like some of our other centre backs. Yeah, Jamie Sanchez, look, 29, very okay. Doesn't enjoy the big games, but he's got a good mentality. Look, he's okay for this division. And then if we go to Vasquez, another one, 29, to be honest, I don't know what to do with those stats. They're absolutely horrendous. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's name. We're just going to call him Alex. Honestly, he's pretty decent. He was one I was going to play at right back, but I would rather develop one of our young players. He's already at his max, and I would rather bring the young guy in and at least develop him, because that's going to be the thing we're going to have to do. We're going to have to develop young players and try and grab as many players on approach to signs as we can. Like I said, with regards to the scouting, if I could move this 1.2 million transfer budget, I can move it now. Sweet, there we go. Right, so we can move this into the wage budget. 24,000 is not a lot, but it means at least we can offer. Whenever I originally set this up, it wouldn't let me move that, so that's fantastic. But yeah, like I said, we do have a few people out on loan. This young guy, Simeone, would be good for a squad player, but like I said, that's the problem. One, we've got a wee bit of a bloated squad, and two, we've a lot of people out on loan that we can't bring back, and some of them are worth, like, I wouldn't say a lot of money, like $500,000 to $1 million. We could sell them on. So yeah, we're gonna have to go and do that. I'm gonna have to go. I think the main thing we honestly need, I would like a better centre back that's a little younger. So that's going to be the main thing we're going to have to do. Obviously, the staff is not great at the club as well. Like, if you go into the assistant manager, look, they're absolutely horrendous. Our head of youth development is honestly pretty decent for this league. 17 working with youngsters, 12 and 14 for potential and ability. But past that, like, even our goalkeeping coach is, this man couldn't teach fucking goalkeeping if he tried. I think I'd be better off being our goalkeeping coach, fitness coach. He's get 8. I fucking higher fitnessness, and like, I don't even run that much. He's also 63, so the staff, we're gonna have to change. But I don't know how good we can actually get staff in this game. And obviously the thing that I always do when I go to get staff is obviously go into the staff search, go to the coaching, and then I go over to the far right and go to TCO, which is tactical coaching, and make sure the highest number's at the top. Obviously, this will be very dependent on the reputation of your club. We've still got decent reputation. So the main thing then, what I do is I scroll down, I look for good attacking and good defense, and then I have a look over and see if they are a head of youth development. Hold on, this guy might actually be pretty decent. He is assistant manager. He's not bad at all. I'm actually going to make him our assistant manager. He wants to be a coach. We'll make him a coach for the meantime. I can always go in and reevaluate this. So yeah, what I do is scroll down and look for a good coach that's head of youth development. As you can see here, he's got 15 attacking and 15 defense. He's head of youth development. Frances Hernandez. Basically, this is how I go about getting all my regen staff. They're usually very, very good. I get the feeling this guy may want to be a head of youth development because he's got 20 working with youngsters, wants to be a coach. So this is all I do. I just basically scroll down. I basically look for good attacking and good defense and make sure the head of youth development. This guy's 14 and 14, head of youth development. Chris Atkinson, another regen, also another one that's absolutely fantastic. Make him a coach again. And this is all I do, boys. It's a little cheeky. It's a good way to get some really, really good staff in, even if you're not a great club. And that's how I go about it. Obviously, your goalkeeping coach, your fitness coach, and your set piece coach are just self-explanatory. You just click on the goalkeeping, see which one's available to you. But with regards to getting good coaches in, this is the tactic that I always use to try and get. You're basically stealing head of youth development people and making them coaches. So I'm going to go update the rest of the staff and then go and see if I can maybe try and bring someone in on like an approach sign. There's going to be a lot of players that are obviously unattached and they're out of contract. So we're going to go and have a little look at them. So we were able to get some really, really good players in. And yeah, you're not going to believe some of the players we actually got in. I'm a little flabbergasted myself, but first things first, I had to, like I said, update the staff. So this is a manager. I've got a really, really good guy in, Miguel Vasquez. He's fantastic. Set piece coach. He now has 16 set pieces instead of like the 4 that ours had. And we also found a really, really good head of youth development, Steve Weaver. 20 working with youngsters, 18 and 18 for potential and ability. So that's absolutely fantastic. I also got a really, really good fitness coach in. He's getting 19. And then also, because Deportivo still have a decent reputation, like a 3-star reputation is pretty solid. So I was able to get some really, really good stuff. And then obviously you've seen all the coaches. I do currently have another fitness coach coming in because we've one more space. So I'm going to get, look, I would like my team to be as fit as possible because we do push pretty hard. I like to play a little gegenpressing, like as you do. Seems to work pretty well. So your team needs to be fit. But transfers wise, we brought some interesting players in. The first one is Baonani. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's probably not. Look, this is a one. He's going to be playing as our inside forward on the right-hand side. He's very, very exciting. Young, explosive, little one-footed, but look, we're in the second division, the Spanish league, and we're a little restricted with regards to who we can bring in. Fantastic mentality, super consistent. Like I said, his dribbling is absolutely fantastic. His mental stats are also really, really good. So he's going to be our new inside forward on the right-hand side. In young Prestiani, same thing. Little one-footed, but once again, like I said, we're a little limited. He's going to be our inside forward on the left-hand side. So we've got two young players that are reasonably quick, very, very good at dribbling. I think they're going to be really, really good for this league as well. Unfortunately, couldn't get like buying clauses and stuff. Obviously, look, my goal for us is to go up this year. We're predicted, media prediction is to finish 11th. I want to go up. I don't know what way it works and like head-to-heads and promotions and stuff. I don't know if it's the same as England. Ideally for me, I'd like to be winning the league. I'm just going to be realistic. I want us to go up straight up as champions this year. Obviously, I have to evaluate and wait and see how good our team is. We can reevaluate things in January, but that is my goal for us to go up. So these two young players are absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I was able to bring us a centre midfielder in who is a little disgusted, I'm not going to lie. And it is fucking Desire Doué, who's absolutely amazing. He's going to be our new centre midfielder in beside Charlie Patino. Look, nobody's surprised as much as you that I got him in. But honestly, whenever I went to the players that are available for loan, but like I said, because we have that 3-star reputation, we had people like Arda Güler and all in there as well. Obviously, we can't afford his wages. Wages are absolutely, and they want us. The only thing that frustrates me a little bit sometimes about the loan stuff is the amount of fucking wages they want you to pay. They want me to pay like £80,000 a week as full wages. It's absolutely crazy. Like if you're loaning to a small club in the second division that you know doesn't have a ton of money, you're gonna just be like, we'll pay his wages, just play him. But here, you have to pay us 150 grand a week to loan him in, and on top of that, we also want you to pay 80 grand in wages a week as well. Like that would never happen. That's one thing I hope they do change a wee bit in Football Manager. The loan stuff's a little unrealistic. But then if we do go over to the team, it's looking pretty good. So Helton and Nets, the wee young guy, Albreder, actually got an injury. He's out for like 6 weeks. Martinez and Navarro, I couldn't get as a centre back. I really couldn't. Every centre back that was relatively decent would have cost us an absolute fortune, and we don't have that. Obviously, Pablo Garcia, our young right back, we'll have to wait and see how good he becomes. Vilas, Doué, and Patina in the middle of the park. I'm very, very happy with this. I think between Doué and the front three, we're very, very strong. And then Martinez and Albreder, I'm pretty happy with. Villarreal's, I'm pretty happy with. Look, honestly, I want us to win the league. Like I said, if we go over into the club info, where media prediction is to finish 11th, I honestly believe we should be winning this with the players that we've got. Like I said, I've put in the best tactic I know, best corner routines, because this is going to be a fucking struggle. Like it really, really is. But I'm up for the challenge. I've never done anything playing in like lower divisions, and I'm always interested. I'm not scared to try new things. I love trying new things. We're just going to rip it, see what happens. Obviously, in January, we'll see if we can get anybody in approach to sign. I am going to wait till January and ask the board to give us a wee bit more wages, and then see if we can sign some players on approach to sign. I did put in for a couple of centre backs that were on approach to signs that were Spanish. One ended up going to Rennes, the other one ended up going to somebody in France, and like we couldn't get anybody in the door with regards to centre backs. It was just very, very difficult. And then hopefully, even though we've only got 1.5 stars for youth recruitment, hopefully we can develop some young players. This would be fantastic. Because if we could do this with Deportivo La Coruña, and then we end up with like getting a really, really good youth recruitments, and then we can just bring those young players into the first team, would be fantastic. But look, we're living on hopes and dreams right now. I think this team is more than capable of playing. The next thing I'm very, very interested to see is who the assistant manager is going to play, because I feel like I'm going to have to lock a lot of players in. So if we go up to the quick pick and go across to pick our best, honestly, not really that much changes. Right, so we're going to have to lock in Prestiani, Doué and Patina, that's fine. Villarreal's plays. Where is our young right back? Pablo Garcia, we're going to have to lock him in. Martinez doesn't need locked in. Left back, I'm pretty happy with who plays. Keeper, I'm pretty happy with who plays. He's going to play. I'm actually going to keep Desire. I might keep Desire Doué locked in. Fuck it, no, but don't need to. I'm Bondino, but don't need to lock in. I'm Biani. We don't need to lock him in. So the only people we're going to have to lock in, I feel like, is our other centre back. Where is he? So apologies for the weird cut. My OBS crashed. So what I was saying is, I feel like the only people I'm going to actually lock in is going to be young Pablo Garcia. Look, I know he's not fantastic, but we don't have many options at right back. And he's young. He's Spanish, he's our player, and then Prestiani. Obviously, with the loan deal, he has to play as much as possible. So I feel like these are the only two players I'm going to lock in, boys. But look, that's enough messing about. Let's go see how we do in season 1. Hopefully, we can get fucking straight up into La Liga. So we got to January. We've got a fantastic piece of news. The board have actually give us a little bit of transfer budget. Look, it's not a lot. It's like just over $500,000. As you can see, 581k. But it means we can push this into our wage budget and then try and bring some people in on loan. So as you can see, we've just confirmed this. I was able to sneak in and get Lenny Euro for absolutely nothing for the month. Obviously this is on loan, but like they don't want us to pay any money up front, which is absolutely fantastic. We had to pay a wee bit of his wages, but look, Lenny Euro is absolutely disgusting. He is very, very good for our team, and this helps us solve the really, really bad right side centre back problem we have. Look, the board coming in and give us that $500,000 in transfer budget, honestly, come in clutch. So boys, we're at the end of season 1. Obviously the youth intake was not great and we didn't have really any money after the Euro situation to basically get anybody to purchase sign. There was nobody really decent anyway. So obviously our goal is to go up. I feel like this team is more than good enough to go up through the league. I really, really do. Champions would be absolutely fantastic. I think the top 2 automatically qualify. I was just looking it up there. So jump over, see how we did in the league. So things didn't start off great. We ended up getting beat 1-0 by Elche. On top of that, things just kept getting worse. We ended up getting beat 1-0 by Levante. Don't worry, boys. We started turning things around. We ended up smashing Oviedo 4-1. Had a great 3-1 win over Racing Santander. We then also beat Tenerife 4-0. And then to top things off, we had a fantastic 5-0 win over Almeria, which meant, boys, after all those good results, we go up in the first season as champions. Things did not start off too great, boys. I'm not going to lie. It was a little rough. But yeah, we played 42 games, 31 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats. I would have liked this to not be as high, but look, it is what it is. 61 goal difference, which is massively ahead of everybody else. Our striker, Baldini, 26 goals in the league. It's not too far ahead of everybody else. Desire Douye, 15 assists. We have Navarro in there for yellow cards. Our keeper is in there with 14 clean sheets. Obviously, we're not at the top, but that's perfectly fine. If you go up in the team overall stats, most points is us by 2.31. We did score 104 goals. We were a good part ahead of everybody else. Most shots, 731. Fewest shots against was us. Most clean sheets, surprisingly not us. Tenerife had 18, which is wild. Fewest conceded us with 43. So we conceded 43 goals, scored 104. I'm very, very happy with that. Look, like I say, going into this, top 2 automatically qualify, and then the next 4 go into the playoffs. I wanted to at least be in this top 2. I wanted to automatically go up. I don't want to fuck around and go into the playoffs and end up having to play more games. Champion was my goal. I did say that. I felt like this team was more than good enough to be champions. But that's that out of the way. Let's go and see how we did in the cup. So we started things off in the first round against Ibiza. Is it Ibiza or Ibiza? I don't know what way it's pronounced, but we ended up winning that 5-0. Then in the second round we played, who is that? Ontario. We ended up beating them 4-0. People are going to butcher me for these names in this Spanish rebuild, but look, just suck it up. Then we did face off against our first big team in the third round against Atletico Bilbao. We beat them 2-0. We also had a man sent off as well. But in the fourth round, this is where our luck kind of ran out. But look, we got beat by Barcelona. They had to take us to penalties. Penalties where they beat us 5-4 in penalties. I'm very, very happy with this. If we can take Barcelona the whole way to penalties, things are looking pretty good. And like, they had a good team out. Ansu Fati, Pedri, Lamine Yamal, Pablo Torre, Eric Garcia, Hector Ford, Christensen, Arojo. They had a good team out. And yeah, we're doing pretty well, boys. I'm pretty happy with this. So then moving over into the player performances, our keeper, Hilton, 41 games, 45 games, 41 conceded, which is pretty solid. 17 clean sheets. Of course, then Big Martinez played 30 games, 0 goals, 3 assists. He will be retiring. Look, the man's about to turn 37. Our only issue going into the next season is we're going to lose a lot of our squad. There's a lot of people retiring, a lot of people going out of contracts. I didn't want to renew contracts on players that are absolutely fucking terrible. So I didn't, and yeah, he's one of them, but unfortunately he's retiring. And then of course Lenny Euro, one I would love to keep at the club, but like he's already valued at 46. Look how good he is already after only playing 22 games for us. He had 9 goals, 0 assists, and a 7.3 for the season. Then our left back, who generally played most of the game, was Big Sergio. Played 25 games, 7 assists. He is also retiring because he's going to be 36. In young Pablo Garcia, another thing on top of that, look, he's also very, very short at 5'3". I actually didn't notice this when I was putting him in, but he played 24 games, 1 goal, 3 assists. Valerius, who I feel like is still decent enough to play in the top league for us, I really do. 42 games played, 11 goals, and 8 assists. Not bad for a defensive midfielder. He's 6'1". He's still relatively young. Look, is he going to be the best DM in Spain? No, but he's going to be good enough for a team just coming up. And of course, young Charlie Patino, still really, really young. Honestly, still a really good player. He's got a lot of 14s and 15s and 16s in there, so he will definitely be playing for us next year. 23 games started, 21 off the bench, 5 goals and 14 assists. Another one I would obviously love to keep, but like obviously we're not going to be able to afford him. 37 games played for Desire Douye, 12 goals, 17 assists. Then young Prestiani out on the left-hand side played 37 games, 13 goals and 3 assists. Another one, look, there's a lot of these players I would love to keep, but we just don't have the cash. And then Burianane, I don't know, look, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm not going to lie to you. Anyway, he played 29 games, 6 goals, 9 assists. Not a fantastic season, but look, all in all, we brought him in to do a job, and he did that job for us. Then, of course, the big man up top, our main man, the striker, 37 games played, 30 goals, 4 assists. Another one that I feel like will be decent enough to play in the first division. And like, we did a fantastic job. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of people coming back from loan. We're going to have a lot of people going out that were here on loan. Honestly, I'm very, very happy. Like I said, my goal was just to automatically qualify, get up, get into La Liga, and that's it. And that's all I wanted. And we have done that. Obviously, I think we did well in the cup. We got the 4th round. We took Barcelona the whole way to penalties. And yeah, we got 8.5 million for a transfer budget. Obviously, this is not a fucking crazy amount of money. Like, we could work it the whole way up to 12, but then we've no wage budget. All in all, I'm very, very happy. Look, the wage budget and bringing players in the next season is a problem for another day. But boys, all in all, we did what we wanted to do in the first season, is getting up in the league. Obviously, going in to the first division, we have to stay in the league. That is going to be the first priority in the first season in La Liga, is just we have to stay in that league. But boys, let's move over into season 2. So then moving over into season 2, obviously the team is going to change quite a lot. We've loads of people going out of contract. On top of that, yeah, a few of our loan deals have went back. I'm going to add this screen at the end of every season, or probably the start of every season. But it's just an easy way to keep track of the things that we won. Obviously, we have a league title in the bag, so I'm going to keep track of that. On top of that, we also have the Spanish Cup. We have the Europa Conference League, because I don't know where we're going to finish. So we're going to keep track of all the European trophies, the Europa League, the Champions League, and the Super Cup. Ideally, I would like to try and win all of these before this save is done. It would be great. But obviously, the big one is going to be getting into Champions League football and also win the title. But for this season, obviously, it's going to be just staying in this league is going to be our main thing, because we've just came up. Yeah, I've loaned in a few players because obviously we didn't have a lot of cash, and I can't afford to go out and just buy an entirely new team. So we've had to loan some people in. Zealand to be very, very proud. So one of the first people I loaned him is young Paul Kouabassi. Obviously, our back line needs to sort of come up a little bit. I don't know what's going on with his current ability rating, because he's clearly not 3.5 star. This is him usually at like 2 star. I don't know if it's like janked in this like database or not. But anyway, look, I've got him in for the season. Obviously, he's a 2.3 million buy clause, so this is something we could maybe turn into like a future transfer to the end. I would like to keep him because, one, he's Spanish, he's very, very good, but trying to get him away from Barcelona. So he's going to be one of the ones that plays at centre back for us. Beside him is going to be Bastien Mepebiao. I don't know how to pronounce his second name. Honestly, we've got him on a season loan from Wolves. This is another one. So Paul Kouabassi and him as our 2 centre backs. Look, young, inexperienced, but look, we just come up into this league. Our options are very, very limited. Money is very, very limited, and a lot of these players didn't cost us a lot with regards to like they don't want a lot with like on top of paying their wages, they don't want like a monthly fee, which is fantastic. That's the main reason why these deals can go through. As our left back, I have loaned in Southampton's young Yao Laras once again. Very, very good player. He's 21. He's Spanish. Would like to probably make this a permanent deal at some point, but the only thing is you're banning from the Premiership, as you can see. So he's honestly, his valuation is not crazy, 9.2 to 11.5 million. But look, he's one, comes in, helps us with registration as well because he's Spanish. Then another one I loaned in from Barcelona is going to be young Hector Ford. He is going to be a right back. Once again, look, I'm trying to loan in as many good young Spanish players as can. Obviously, we have to keep up with registration, so that's going to be a huge thing too. But he's another one not valued massively. I would like to make this a permanent deal if I could next year. Look, it just depends how well we play this season, how much money we get. But look, we just come up on this league and the board gives what, like 8.5 million. So like if we can do well, obviously I don't think we're going to get into European football, but we're going to talk about my predictions in a minute. So Hector Ford, that means Hector Ford on one side, Loris on the other side, Bastian and Paul Kubasi as our backline. So then playing in the middle of the park beside Charlie Patino is going to be Can Uzun. I've loaned him in, as you can see, from Frankfurt. It's costing us a total of 800,000 for the entire season. Look, 6'1", can play with both feet, good mentality. He is actually playing at this divisions level, so that's fantastic. He's only 19. Once again, would love to make us a permanent deal. He's a little more expensive, 25 to 35 million, so this is probably one we're not going to be able to sort of get in down the line. As our inside forward on the right hand side, we've rated Barcelona once again, because like why not? I've brought in Noah Darvuch, another one. Look, not going to cost us a lot of money, 4.5 million for the season. Look, a little expensive, but look, once again, like I said, our options are very, very limited. The players are inside forward on the left hand side. I have brought in Jurian and Dalenval, 1.9 million for the entire season. Look, if we can do well, stay in this league and even push up into like sort of like mid-ish table, and we can get a wee bit more money every season, we can just increase the quality of the players that we're bringing in. So this is what the team is going to look like going into season 2. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of upsetty spaghetti like players. As you can see, a lot of these players are out of contract. I've tried to offer them other contracts. A lot of them are retiring or just don't want to have another contract. So the next thing is going to be, what team is the assistant manager going to play? Because he is not going to play a lot of these young players. I'm actually very, very surprised at that. I am very, very surprised at that. Honestly, I'm not upset at it at all. Can Charlie Patino play as a striker? If he could play as a striker, dude, I would just play him up top. Devo playing on the inside forward. Look, he's not great. I would rather have the other kid that I was currently playing, but this is not bad. He only makes like 2 changes. Which means going into this season, the only players I'm actually going to lock in is going to be Can Uzun, Darvuch, Duranval, and I'm going to play this wee kid. I've got a really itchy nose. Oh, it's bad. I'm going to play Martin O'Shea. He's one of our players. He's Spanish. He's only 20. Look, I know he's not amazing, but we don't have a lot of cash left, and the strikers that are available, even on loan, I was going to bring in Shaquille Van Persie, but they want like £790,000 a month. And then we also have to pay all of his wages. We obviously just can't afford that, and we don't have anybody to sell of like good value. So obviously, if like I had a couple players that were worth like 10 million, could sell them on and then bring them players in on loan. But look, we just don't have the cash, and I think we've built a team that's very, very capable. Look, I'm happy with this team. My prediction is going to be the next thing. Look, the main thing is staying in this league. We're staying out of here. I would be very happy if we finished 12th to 15th. I think 12 to 15 is really, really good. We stay in the league. We stay close to the mid-table, but like no messing around. There's a lot of really, really good teams in this league. Obviously, the top teams is where we're going to be chasing down the line, but like we're going to get nowhere near like Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid and Villarreal and stuff. Like it's going to be a long time. At 12 to 15, I'll be happy. Staying in the league is the main priority. But boys, that's enough messing about. Obviously, I'll bring you back in January if there's anybody for poacher signs. That's going to be another thing. When we get to January, I'm going to ask the board for either a wee bit more transfer kitty or a wee bit more wages, and then see if we can bring anybody in on our poacher signs, because we are going to have to at some point bring players in full time. Obviously, we can just loan players in, but it gets a little expensive. Like the better players you bring in, the more money clubs want, and then you end up paying like 10 million for a player for a season where you could spend that 10 million just bring somebody in full time. But look, we'll jump that bridge and we'll come to it. Obviously, I would love to bring you back in April if we get a good youth intake. Every transfer window, I keep asking the board just to increase the youth recruitment. We'll just see how it goes. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 2. So boys, we're at the end of season 2. Like I said, my goal for us was just to stay in this league. Obviously, 12 to 15 would be fantastic, but we have to stay in this league. We can't just keep like going down, coming back up, going down, coming back up, because that just ruins any momentum. If we've got any good players we're able to bring in, we're going to have to sell if we go down. So like, I don't want to flippy flop back and forward, up and down the leagues. So like I said, 12 to 15, I think is a really, really good position for us. So let's go and see how we did. So things, like I said, did not start off fantastic in the league. We ended up getting beat 2-1 by Elche in the first match. Girona ended up beating us 2-0 in the second game, so we were 2 games, 2 defeats. Misery didn't stop there. We ended up getting beat by Valencia 3-0, so we were 3 games, 3 defeats, so things were not looking great. We did somehow manage to end up getting a result against Real Madrid. We drew with them 2 each. This then sparked a little bit of momentum for us. We ended up beating Sevilla 2-1. We also got a 3-2 victory away to Espanyol. And then probably our best performance of the season, we ended up beating Mallorca 7-1. So with all those games, we ended up finishing 9th. This is massively above where I thought we were going to. My prediction was 12 to 15, stay in the league and just be here. Look, we ended up playing amazing. 38 games played, 16 wins, 5 draws, 17 defeats. So we had 1 more defeat than we did wins. But look, we finished in 9th. We had an 8 goal difference and 53 points. Obviously, for us to push up into Europe, we're going to need another like 10, 12, 15 points to get anywhere near the title. We're talking 40 to 50 points. So like, we're a long way off, but this is a really, really good push in the right direction. Obviously, we've nobody in the players, average ratings and assists. We do have people in the yellow cards though. Lloris, our left back, and Fort, our right back, are both in there for 2 and 3. Nobody in the clean sheets, nobody in the player of the matches. Look, we expect all this. I couldn't believe that we finished 9th. I was expecting, like I said, 12 to 15 in and around here. For us to finish up here is absolutely fantastic. Team overall stats, most points per game, we're not in there, boys. In the most goals section, we're second. We scored 2 goals more than Barcelona. Obviously, we're way off Real Madrid, but like with their team, I massively expect this. Most goals, were, like I said, we're most shots for, we're in second. Fewest shots against, we're not in there. Most clean sheets, we're not in there. And fewest conceded, we're not in there. I don't care about our defensive record. I can't take any negatives away from this at all. This is absolutely fantastic. The fact that we're so close to Europe with a bunch of loaned in kids. So then that takes us over into the Spanish Cup. In the first round, we faced off against Orense. I don't know who they are, but we ended up having to take them the whole way to extra time. We ended up beating them 5-2. In the second round, we got a nice 2-1 victory over Alila, I'm guessing the lower league team. And that took us to the third round where we faced off against Malaga. We ended up beating them 3-2. But unfortunately, this is where our cup run ended up. In the fourth round, we ended up getting Barcelona. Look, we only get beat 3-2. Once again, all positives this season. Finished 9th, massively above where I thought we were going to finish. And then we go out in the cup, getting beat by 1 goal by Barcelona. Let's be honest, their team's ridiculous. This is a very, very good season for us. So then moving over into the player performances, our keeper played 42 games, conceded 77, only had 5 clean sheets, which is a little rough. He's also retiring, which not going to help us next year. Then young Bastian, who actually had a really, really good season, 36 games played, didn't get any goals or any assists, but I had a 7 rating. I would love to keep him, but he's like way outside of our price range. Hal Kouabassi, another one I would love to keep, and he's not even that expensive. Played 37 games, 5 goals, 1 assist. And his young Barcelona compatriot, young Hector Fort, played 32 games, no goals, 7 assists. Lando Reis on the left-hand side played 30 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. Then big Diego Valares, our defensive midfielder, is very upset. He won't sign it, as you can see. He won't sign a new contract here. I tried to give him a new contract. He's unhappy because he wants to move to a bigger club. We're already doing very, very well, but I understand where he's coming from. But the only bad thing is, because he's going to be out of contract, we're probably not going to get that much. If I can get 2 to 2.5 million for him, I'll be happy. But I'd ideally like to keep him. But he played 33 games, 10 goals, 10 assists. Charlie Patino is another one who's upset and doesn't want to sign a contract, wants to go to a stronger squad. 28 games played, 14 goals, 9 assists. The worst part is, right, he's upset because he wants to go to a stronger squad. I get that. That's perfectly fine. But like, look at his stats, right? There's no way he's only valued at 1.1 to 2.9 million. There's no way. This is at least an 8 to 10 million pound player. If we got 8 to 10 million, I'd be happy. But like, if I go and sell him, I'll be lucky if I get 2 million. Then young Khan Uzan in beside him, who's not upset because, you know, he's not our player. He played 36 games, 13 goals and 6 assists. Duranval is our left inside forward, obviously and on loan as well. 42 games played, 7 goals, 7 assists. Noah Darfuch on the right hand side has just been upset the whole season because he's not playing in the attacking midfielder role. But look, he played 34 games, 6 goals, 12 assists. Another one I would love to bring in again, but like, because he's upset, he's spaghetti, Barcelona's more than likely not going to want to loan him into us again, because he's one I would like to bring in again. And then of course, like I said, the young man that was playing up top for us, what's he upset about? Unhappy with his manager's treatment. The guy doesn't want to sign a contract. I was happy to keep him. He doesn't want to stay. I don't understand why players get upset. Like, the football manager makes no sense to me sometimes. Look, he played 41 games, 20 goals, 1 assist though. He actually did pretty well considering. Look, if we're being realistic, he's not that good. But he scored 20 goals for us. So then looking at our team, we're going to have a massive clear out next year. Like, the only people that's actually going to be here next year is going to be oh god, this hurts my soul doing this because like the amount of people that's leaving. This is the squad. Charlie Patina, if I can keep him, I'm going to keep him. Oshio, obviously one of our players. That is the only players we have. I don't even know how much money we got. I would ideally, look, if we get 8.5 million coming up from the second division into the first, and we get 8.5 mil, I would expect double that because we stayed in the league. There is no way they've give us zero. There's no way they've give us no money, right? We have to be getting our transfer, but there's no way we've stayed in this league and they have give us zero cash. Because if that happens, I don't know what we're going to do, because how are we going to loan more players in? Look, obviously we're just going to have to wait and see if we get our initial transfer budget a little later than May. But look, all in all, boys, a fantastic season. We finished 9th, get knocked out of the cup in the 4th round, obviously by Barcelona. Only beat us by 1 goal. A fantastic season. I'm just really hoping the board gives us some money. So boys, let's move over into season 3. Pretty much as soon as I hit continue, the board gives us our initial transfer budget. It's 9.5 million, and we also have just under $500,000 in wages. That's not bad. Look, honestly, I'm going to ask them for more money. I would like to try and get this up to like 12 million, because that would be fantastic. I feel like we should get a wee bit more money for doing great. But look, it's better than zero, boys. So boys, then moving over into season 3, it's wild that we're in the 3 seasons already. Obviously, with us not being in a lot of competition, it's crazy how fast a season goes when you don't have European football to play as well. But look, we had a total of like 12 million to spend, which honestly is not a lot of money to like rebuild a squad. So once again, obviously we're gonna have to loan players in. I think it did pretty well. So with regards to the keeper situation, I'm actually gonna play one of our young keepers called Ivan. Look, I know he's not great. He has really, really good potential. He's got a good mentality. And honestly, the keepers that we could loan in are not really much better than him and our other keepers that are in the squad. One is retiring. The other one doesn't want to sign an our contract, and he's out of contract at like January or something. So we don't really have many other options. So I'm going to play this young keeper. Probably going to make us leak a few goals, but look, this is what we're going to have to do. Rely on young players to build the team up. Then I'm also going to have to do the same for our left back situation currently. One, we're out of money, which, you know, doesn't really overly help. I'm going to play young Raul Torres. This is one that came through the youth system. Got a long way to go to be very, very good. At least he's got good crossing the 13, but he's got good bravery, and that's probably about it. But he's also left-footed. He's Spanish. He's got a good mentality. And like I said, our options are a little limited. Then I went and brought in Alex Jimenez. I think this was from AC Milan. Yeah, from AC Milan, 2.1 million for the season. He is probably an upgrade with regards to Hector Ford. He's probably a little bit better than he is. So that's one position we have upgraded a little bit. In another position we have upgraded is Shadi Riyad in centre back. Look, this is a very, very good one from Crystal Palace. 1.5 million for the season. He's way better than Bastian that we had in this position last year. Then I also loaned in Jean-Noel Belechion. I don't know why I couldn't get the start of his name out there. But yeah, he's another one. He's probably about as good as Paul Kouabasi. So once again, he's as good as Paul Kouabasi. Radi Chiad is an upgrade on Bastian that we had last year. So all in all, look, defense, pretty good apart from left back. In the play in the defensive midfielder role, I loaned in Mark Bernal, and then he got injured for 3 to 4 months with a broken foot. So yeah, he's probably going to be out till Christmas. But this is another one. Look, Spanish, 6'2", really physical. Once we get him back, really, really good addition to the squad. Loads of people have come in and offered for Patino, but he just doesn't want to leave, and he's got a buy clause of 2.1 million, so I don't really know what's going on with him. So he's going to play until someone tries to steal him. Then this is one guy that I actually brought in. Hold on, I've got Nichi Shin. This one guy I actually brought in last year on a free signing. I think this is pretty good. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. Aham Amada. Look, he's 6 foot. He's pretty good all round. He's got a fantastic mentality. He's super consistent. He's still only 24. He can play reasonably well with both feet. I think this is a good addition to play in the middle of the park. So then moving into our front 3 or 2 inside forwards on a striker, I'm going to play this guy, Dario Navarra, another one from the youth system. He's got a good mentality. He's got a long way to go to improve. Has a ton of potential. He's got good finishing, good hitting, good technique. Look, he's not fantastic, but once again, we don't have a ton of money. And also our options are limited again with regard. I honestly trying to find an inside forward to bring into the club there wasn't many people. There was a few people that were just better than him, but then you're talking 2 million for the season, and I'm like, I'm trying to save us a little bit of money. And also I'm just going to play a young Spanish player that came through our youth system. But one position we did massively upgrade was I was able to loan in Liam Delap for the season. Cost a total of 3.6 million. I know this is a lot of money, but it's a massive upgrade. One, He's 6'1", he can play with both feet, he's fast, he's very good all round, he's got a good mentality, he's super consistent. Look, he doesn't massively enjoy the big games, but honestly, doesn't enjoy the big games is not as bad as having the inconsistency trait. And look, he's only 23 years old. I think he's a massive upgrade. Then with regards to striker, I loaned in Francisco Camara from AC Milan for the season for 1.5 million. This is another one, once again, an upgrade on the striker that we had last year. Look, he's not phenomenal, but he is very, very good in the air, and he's 6'1", so he's probably going to score a ton of goals from headers and from corners and stuff. Look, he does have some good attributes. His dribble and finishing and first touch are all 14 to 15. 15 heading, technique is good, composure is good, anticipation is good, decision making is good, flair is good, physical stats are relatively decent, stamina and natural fitness are a little low, but look, it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers when you're a small club. So then this is what the team is going to look like for the season. Like I said, we have upgraded. I would say our team's slightly better than what it was last year. It's not massively better, but look, this is what we're going to have to do every season. We're just going to have to keep upgrading a wee bit, upgrading a wee bit, upgrading a wee bit, and just a lot of our games are gonna be like we're gonna have to loan players in. But as you can see, look, we've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in the squad now that are ours, and the rest are loans. So like we've cut down on the loans. Ideally, of course, I would have liked a better keeper, a better left back, and a better inside forward. But like I said, we have not. I've only 150,000 left in the wages. Our options were very, very limited. But I'm happy with this squad. I really, really am. Look, that's enough messed about. I'll bring us back in January if there's anybody available on approach to signs, but if we don't get any cash in January from the board, I obviously can't sign anybody. And then hopefully we can get a couple of decent players from youth intake, because we're going to have to heavily rely on bringing young players through, even though we've got, like, what is our youth intake rating? Where is it? Yeah, 1.5 stars. So I'm probably going to ask the board in January or before I start this season off to upgrade that. But all in all, look, all we can do is just try and do a little bit better than what we did last year. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 3. So boys, we're at the end of season 3. Obviously, if we're here, look, the youth intake wasn't great, but we've had bad youth intakes before, and then players have just developed over time. So I'm just keeping an eye on the youth team and just kind of seeing if we get like any wee hidden gems come through. But look, once again, my goal for this league was this season, was just do a wee bit better than we did last year. Obviously, our team has progressed a little tiny bit, so that's what I expect us to do. Just keep moving up the table slowly and slowly and slowly. And like I said, we're gonna have to rely on young players to kind of pull us out of a bit of a deep spot sometimes. But look, I'm excited. This has been a really, really fun save. Let's jump over. See how we did in the league this year. So things did not start off too great in the league. We ended up getting absolutely obliterated 4-1 by Getafe. In the next match, we had a fantastic result against Almeria, beating them 6-2. We then got brought down to earth by Villarreal, smashing us 3-1. We then somehow managed to beat Real Madrid 4-1. Barcelona then spanked us 5-2. Then we also managed to get a nice 3-2 win over Valencia, who seem to be doing really, really well in this database. So that meant, boys, at the end of this, we somehow managed to get into 4th. Look, don't get me wrong, we finished here last year. I was expecting sort of like move up a couple of positions and just every season keep moving up a couple of positions and a couple of positions and a couple of positions. I was not expecting us to get up in the 4th. We have champions. We are not ready for our squad is not ready. We don't even own half of our team, and we're in Champions League football this year. The board better give us some serious cash, because we're gonna need to build a squad. But we played 38 games, 23 wins. We only had 4 draws and 11 losses. The 11 losses would like us to come down a little bit, but look, it is what it is. We had 31 goal difference, so our goal difference is just going up and up every year. Finished on 73 points, which is absolutely fantastic. But then there's a massive gap between us and the big 3. We're in 73, Atletico's in 85, Real Madrid's on 99, and Barcelona's on 102. So we're like, what, like nearly 30 points off the champions. But look, this is the thing. We came up on the first season, got ourselves up on the 9th, we got ourselves up on the 4th, and the fact that we're doing this with like half of our team being people we've loaned in, I'm very, very happy. Then, as you can see, Camarda is in 3rd, 4 goal scorers. He had a very, very good season. And then we've nobody in average ratings. Our young left back seems to have had a wee bit of a banger season, considering, look, let's be honest, his stats aren't great. He had 24 assists. I just noticed Real Madrid also have Michael Coyote. Is there anybody they don't own? Yeah, he's got 24. Coyote's got 19. That's absolutely insane. We also have our right back Jimenez and Mafula in there, 1 and 2 for yellow cards. Nobody in the clean sheets and nobody in the player of the matches. If we got the team overall stats, most points per game is Barcelona. Look, we're in 4th. I'm pretty happy with that. Most goals, 110. Barcelona's 105. We're on 94. That's absolutely wild. I wish we would have broke 100, and then 3 teams would have broke over 100 goals. Most shots for is Real Madrid. Look, we're down. We're only 100 behind them. I'm pretty happy with that. Few shots against, we're not in there. Obviously, our defense is very, very young. Most clean sheets, we're not in there. Fewest conceded, we're not in there. So obviously, look, once again, we know where the problem lies. It's in defense. Like, we have no problem scoring goals. We scored 94, but we're just conceding way too many goals. But if you know what the problem is, it's a little easier to fix it. But look, it also depends how much the board has given us some money. But let's jump over, see how we did in the cups first. This is fucking amazing. Us in Champions League football. Our team is not ready, but like, I'm excited for it. So we started things off in the first round against SD Lagorens. We beat them 5-1. We then faced off against San Juan in the second round, beating them 5-1. In the third round, we faced off against Numantia, beating them 7-0. So we scored a lot of goals, but we've also got a very, very good run. We've played a lot of smaller teams. In the fourth round, we had to push Oviedo the whole way to penalties to make it to the quarterfinals, where of course we faced off against Real Madrid, who clapped our cheeks 5-1. But look, I'm okay with this. Real Madrid has got a vastly superior team. So like, we got up in the fourth in the Champions League, in the league, and we made it to the quarterfinals of the cup. Look, I'm very, very happy. I'm going to take nothing but positives away from this season. So then jumping over into the player performances, obviously our young keeper, Ivan, honestly, who looks like he's progressed reasonably well. Played 43 games, look, conceded 70, but that's mostly down to, look, we've got a wee bit of a leaky defense, and we've got a very, very young and experienced keeper. But then he had 11 clean sheets. Honestly, I feel like over the next couple of seasons, look, the kid's only 16. If we get him to like 20, I think we have a decent keeper. And then obviously, look, most keepers don't hit their prime to like 26, 27 in the runner. So he's got a few years. Then young Baleshian played 41 games, no goals, 1 assist. Chadi Riyad had himself a very, very good season. He didn't get a couple of injuries. As you can see, he's only played 34 games, but he had 14 goals. I mean, when you're 6'2", 16 jumping reach, more likely he's the man smashing them in from the corners. In the one I was actually really, really interested to see how well he did was young Torres, our young left back. Played 42 games, 1 goal, 26 assists. Look, I'm hoping this isn't a wee freak season and this kid just somehow is an absolute magician. But look, once again, all the green arrows going up. He's still only just turned 17 years old. I'm very, very happy. His 26 assists is absolutely insane. And then, of course, young Alex Jimenez on the right-hand side. He played 40 games, 4 goals, 14 assists. Mark Bernal, of course, we had to wait for him to come back because he ended up getting injured. He only played 27 games. He also got injured right at the end of the season as well. Played 27, 4 goals, 8 assists. And then Hamada played 36 games, 12 goals, 7 assists. And then, of course, we knew at some point we were going to lose Charlie Patino. He ended up going to Benfica in the January transfer window. Obviously, he had that release clause, 2.1 million. I would have liked to keep him. Honestly, he is very, very good. Then Big Delap had an absolutely fantastic season. 41 games played, 23 goals and 12 assists. Look, if I could bring him in a game, would be absolutely fantastic. 6'1", can play with both feet, big physical dude. He's reasonably quick. Hopefully look, it all depends how much money we got as well. I would say if we got up in the Champions League football, we got what, 12? We got 8 million getting up into the first division last year, and then we got 12 million last season. Look, I'd say I want 20 mil. I think 20 million I could do some damage with, but it also depends how much the board likes us. In young Navarro playing over on the right hand side, he played 42 games, 8 goals, 8 assists. Look, a lot of green arrows going up. Obviously, look, he's not fantastic, but he's gonna once again only be 17 years old, and he came through youth system, and our options are a little limited on who we could have brought in. But look, all in all, a pretty good season for being 16. Then the big man Camarda up top, one I would actually like to keep, but he's also valued at 37 to 45 million. Played 35 games, 20 goals, 3 assists. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with the team, but then obviously moving in the next season, we're not going to have half of these players. And this is the players that we do have that ours is Ivan, Torres, Ahmeda and Navarro. So we have a lot of squad building to do. And especially, like I said, with us playing in Champions League football now, that's an extra, like at least 8 games a season. And our squad is, I wouldn't say our squad's small, but like it's got a lot of players that are run out of contract or people who aren't good enough. So like we're gonna have to rebuild a little bit. Obviously, we don't have our transfer budget yet, but look, all in all, boys, an amazing season. Champions League football, quarterfinals of the cup. I can't ask any more for the boys. So let's jump over into season 4. So boys, then moving over into season 4. Look, I think we've actually done pretty well in the window. The board gave us a total of 14 million. Look, I know it's more money than we had last year, and obviously, look, we just didn't make enough money for them to give us a ton of cash, so I had to be very sparing with what I was spending. But I've built up a team and only loaned in 1 player. The first one I brought in was obviously going to be a centre back, so I brought in Nathan Zizi. This is a really, really good one. Look, a total of 4 million. I think it's an absolute steal for him. Some reason it's 2.5 million up front and then the rest in installments. I don't know why it's not showing up, but look, this is a really, really good deal. 22 years old, 6'3". He's left foot. He's got a good mentality. He's consistent, and look, he's our player instead of having loan players in all the time. But the only person I have loaned in is Iman Cospo. This is going to be the one that plays in beside Nathan Zizi. Another one, look, 6'3", right-footed, good mentality, super consistent, very, very good all round. So our backline looking a little stronger this year. Two really, really good, big, strong, reliable centre backs. Then our new right back, there is a reason why I'm going to bring him in as a right back. So I basically brought this guy in on a free. He was on the approach of signs in January. So really, really good midfielder, but he's 5'5". Jumping reach isn't fantastic, and yeah, he's going to get absolutely bullied in midfield. So I've decided to start training him to be our new right back. Look, he's got everything: good dribbling, good first touch, good crossing. Mental stats are very, very good. Look, I know he's not the fastest player in the world, but once again, beggars can't be choosers. We don't have a ton of people, and honestly, we got him on a free. So then another young player, obviously, is going to be one for the future that I have brought in, is Hadimi Hashmiye. Hopefully I got his name right. He costs a total of 3 million, had a buy clause. Another one, 6'3", play with both feet. Look, not the fastest in the world. I am going to work on his pace. He's more of like a no-nonsense centre back. And look, if I was to try and make him into a ball-playing defender, like he's got 9 first touch and 4 dribbling, we're not going to be able to get him up. So I would rather just work on his pace. He's got 11 or 10 acceleration and 12 pace. If I can get this up to like 12 and 14, it's gonna I'm not gonna have enough points to make him a good ball playing defender, so I'm just gonna work on things that are a little easier to work on. But like I said, he's 6'3", 15 jump on reach, he's got 17 heading, 16 tackling. He's a very, very good no-nonsense centre back, and he's only 18 years old, and it's the one thing we don't have is a centre back that's young, that's ours. Then the next person I brought in is Inas Hadji. This is the one from Rangers. He got him on a free. That's one of the reasons why I brought him in. Look, he's 6 foot, very strong with both feet. I know you look over here and think he's not going to do anything. I have had Hadji in other saves. Obviously, I had him in the Rangers rebuild. I kept him for the whole Rangers rebuild because he just kept performing and doing what I wanted to do. Obviously, he's not playing as an attacking midfielder. He's going to play a wee bit more central, so we're going to have to reevaluate it because he's not quick and he may get bullied a wee bit in midfield. We'll just have to obviously reevaluate this again. But like I said, 6 foot, can play fantastic at both feet, amazing mentality, consistent, enjoys the big games. Really, really good technically, really, really good mentally. And like I said, we got him for nothing. Then the next one I brought in, this is going to be our left side inside forward, is Alexandru Stolian. In this database, he's one of the really, really good like wonder kids. Obviously, got him pretty cheap, which was the best part. He had a buy clause of 2.9 million, so I went and activated. As you can see, physical stats are really, really good. He can play with both feet. He's got a good mentality. Mental stats, a little wayward, but look, once again, beggars can't be choosers. We're having to sort of get what we can. But he's got 19 determination, 15 dribbling, 14 finishing, 13 first touch, good technique. And like I said, for 2.9 million, I think this is a steal. And then probably one of our best signings. I think this is an absolute god signing. I found this guy. He was on, obviously I've set up our recruitment focus for busy non-EU, for EU and for non-EU and stuff. And this was one of the head ones at the top of our scout list. Was this guy Simeon Lernijo? He's Swedish, 5'10", good mentality, can play with both feet. Physical stats are absolutely disgusting. As you can see over here, speed, vision, attacking, technical, and mental are all very, very good. He's only 18 years old. It costs us a total of 6 million. I think 6 million, and then working its way up to 9. I think this is honestly probably one of our best signings because this kid is disgusting. Then everybody, welcome our new striker. This one, once again, I think a really, really good sign to Sean Nelson Modidi, another one in this database that's really, really good. Like I said, obviously, if you want this database and stuff, everything will be in the pinned comments down below, along with the tactic, the corner routine, and the save file, so go and pick it up. So this guy, really, really good. 6 foot, little one-footed, but look, once again, I'm not going to hold it against him. An amazing mentality, dark green, super consistent. Physical stats are absolutely disgusting. He's got good finishing, good first touch, good technique. Mental stats are solid. And like I said, 6 foot and really, really physical, but he's also quick. I think this guy's going to score a bucket load of goals. The only thing is, I could only get a 40 million release clause in his contract. He wouldn't take anything less. But look, if we bring a guy in for a total of 4.5 million, working its way up to 8, and sell him on for 40, that's a really, really good profit. Obviously, I wouldn't want to lose him, but like at least we're making a good profit. Then going into the season 4, this is what the team looks like so far. Like I said, Ivan, young Torres, of course, I'm just going to keep him in, just let him develop. After the season he had last year was 26 assists. Was it a fluke season? We'll find out. And then obviously Zizi, Cospo. Cospo is one I would like to bring in full time. Couldn't get in an optional fee in the thing. They wouldn't take it. They would only take a mandatory fee. and then I removed that they wouldn't let us have an optional fee. Him and beside, and then obviously the wee guy we got on the free, he's going to play it right back. Defensive midfielder is a position we don't have anybody in there. There is a few options, so I'm just going to let the assistant manager play somebody. I even went and looked in the under 18s and the second team just to see if there's any good young Spanish players. We have a bunch of really, really good attacking players, but none of them are good with regards to defensive stats. One of the guys I was thinking about bringing up was going to be this young guy, Roberto Carlos Cabanillas. Look, I know he's not fantastic, but honestly, our options in that position are terrible. We don't have any more money left. So this is the guy I'm more than likely just going to bring up. Look, I know physical stats and mental stats, not fantastic, but look, our options are limited, and look, the only way these kids are going to get any better, once again, the same as our left back and the same as our keeper, is if we play them. He's got 20 determination, which means more than likely he's going to get the 4-star, and if we put him into the first team, it's going to help him develop quicker. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to lock him in for the season, like I said, and then them two, Amamada and Haji in the middle of the park, and then Stolen out the side, our young Swedish. I think these two I think are gonna score a fuck ton of goals for us. I really, really do. I'm hoping, touch wood, they can just light this league up. Obviously, prediction wise, look, we finished up in 4th. If we can stay in this top 4, honestly, if we can stay in the I'll be happy if we stay in the top 6. That's my goal. Stay in European football now, and then just sort of, because obviously staying in Europe make us more money, and then the board can give us more money to spend every summer with regards to players. That's my goal. Stay in the top 6 this season, but honestly, I would like to stay in Champions League football, and I think we can do it. Guys, that's enough messing about. That's everybody in the door and everybody at the door. I'd say I'd bring you back in January for approach signs, but you know I won't. I'll just show you them in the summer. But I'm hoping, once again, we got a pretty decent youth intake. It was 3.5 stars. Once again, you don't know how the players are going to develop. Like, and look, I've had some players that were like 3-star and then they've ended up fantastic over a couple of seasons. So we'll just, like I said, keep reevaluating our youth intake and then the young players every season to just kind of see if anybody's sort of ready to make that jump up. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 4, our first season in the Champions League. So boys, we're at the end of season 4. Everything's actually went pretty well this season. Like I said, our team had just got a little bit stronger, but the good thing is now we're starting to own players instead of loaning everybody in, which has been really, really nice. My goal, like I said at the start of the season, was just stay in the top 7, stay in European football, ideally stay in Champions League football, but look, we can't guarantee that. But look, between Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, Villarreal and stuff, like there's a lot of good teams in this league, but I think we've done pretty well. But we started things off against Sevilla with a nice 3-2 win. But then don't get too excited because Barcelona gave us the absolute spanking of a lifetime. Ended up beating us 8-2. This was kind of like just in and around the January sort of period. And I'd noticed that like defensively, we weren't just fantastic. So the board would give us like an extra like 4.5 million. So I ended up going out and getting our centre back, Joan Martin. Look, once again, our options are very, very limited. We need to have a certain amount of Spanish players. So I went and got this guy, look, 6'2", really, really physical. Of course, he's like a no-nonsense centre back. So Nathan Zize's a wee bit more of like our ball-playing defender, and he's a wee bit more of our no-nonsense. We needed to bring someone in just to have a wee bit of stability beside Nathan Zize. Look, at just bringing people in, loaning people all the time, you get no stability in your team. So, look, this guy was pretty decent, and it costs us a total of 12.5 million all in. Look, I know it's a lot of money, but we have to have some centre backs that are ours. So once I brought him in, things started to get a little bit better defensively. Look, we weren't going to be amazing, but we ended up beating Villarreal 2-0. And we also beat Real Madrid 3-2, which surprised me more than anything. We then also managed to get a 3-2 win over Atletico Madrid. A lot of our wins against the bigger temes were very, very close by like a goal or so. But look, as Vin Diesel always says, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. But joking aside, we got some really good wins this season. And once again, we ended up finishing 4th. But look, this was my goal. Champions League football. Look, I didn't think we were going to get in the Champions League football this quick, if I'm just being super honest. Like, I always am realistic. Look, I'm an eternal optimist. I want to be in Champions League football, but I'm also realistic a wee bit at the same time. I think top 6 or top 7 was super realistic, and then Champions League football was the sort of get in there. And like, we did very, very well. Played 38 games, 23 wins, which is fantastic. 6 draws, 9 losses. Would have liked to knock the losses down a little bit. Alaves, we should be beating. Levante, we should be beating. Vigo, Vallecano, I think we should be beating. So we should probably be able to knock off like 3 or 4 of those defeats. That's going to give us like another 12 points. Takes us up into like 88 points, which then takes us up into 3rd place. But all in all, look, finishing Champions League football, that's my goal. I also brought in a few players that are pretty interesting on approach of signs. Obviously, you'll see that next summer. But the main thing here is our young striker, got the top goal scorer award, which is absolutely fantastic. Get 27 goals in the league, and Saifete, which is weird because you think of the firepower that's in this league with regards to strikers. Like, where's like the Kylian Mbappe's, no, I mean the Vinicius Juniors, the Lewandowski's, the Lamine Yamal's, like they were pretty quiet this year. Obviously, we don't have anybody in the average ratings or the assists this time. Our young left back got himself at the top of the yellow card, so he's been top of the assists one season, top of the yellow cards. We've nobody in the clean sheets and nobody in player matches. Obviously, the clean sheets thing, like I said, I come back about halfway through a season. Noticed, honestly, we just weren't playing great defensively. We were just leaking too many goals. That's why I ended up going out and banning our centre back. Thankfully, the board gave us that money in January, or this season could have been a lot different. And if you go up into the team overall stats, most points, we were obviously down in fourth. Most goals, Barcelona scored 111, which is weird because they've nobody in the top goal score. Real Madrid get 96. We got ourselves 83, so we probably dropped off with regards to goals. But look, if we dropped off probably what, like 10, maybe 15 goals. Most shots, we were in third. Fewest shots against, we're not in there. Most clean sheets, we're not in there. And fewest conceded, we're not in there. But look, all in all, we're playing absolutely fantastic. And like I said, the team will get better, because here's the thing. We started off the first couple of seasons loaning players in, loaning players in, loaning players in. Now we're starting, like I said, starting to get to that point where like the players are now ours. We're buying players and we're only having to loan a few players in here and there. For us to finish fourth in Champions League football again, I'm very, very happy with this. This is another fantastic season for us. So then moving over into the Spanish Cup, we started things off in the fourth round against Provinio. We beat them 4-0. We then played Cueta in the second round. It took us the whole way to extra time to beat them. Then honestly, in the third round, we were very, very disappointed. We ended up going out to a team. I don't even know what league this team is in. Honestly, this is more disappointing than getting absolutely smashed by Barcelona. At least the Barcelona game, I expect us to kind of lose. Their team's just ridiculous compared to ours. But this is a game we should be winning, and going out in the third round, it's not great. So that then moves us over to our first season in the Champions League. We did not start things off well. We ended up getting beat by Bodo Glimt 2-0, 3-1 by Ajax. Chelsea then smashed us 4-1. Old nemesis Atletico Madrid beat us 4-2, but at least we put up a fight. Then we got our first Champions League win against AGF. Sporting then smashed us 4-1. I just noticed they have Kai Havertz. We then drew against Inter Milan, who beat us 6-2. And then in our final league phase match, we had to play AC Milan. They ended up beating us 2-0. Look, honestly, I have no excuses. Look, we were terrible. But like the caliber of teams we played for our first year in the Champions League, because if you look at this, this is the results. This looks absolutely terrible. Bodo Glimt, we should be beaten. AGF, we should be beaten. But like, we have Ajax, Chelsea, Atletico Madrid, Sporting, Inter Milan, AC Milan. Like, that's hard games to get into the Champions League, which meant in the league phase, we finished the whole way down in 34th. Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm massively disappointed with this. So then with regards to player performances, our young keeper Ivan, who honestly started to look a lot better, played 49 games, conceded 83. Look, this is going to be expected. A very inexperienced left back, a very inexperienced keeper, and a very inexperienced defensive midfielder. Look, but he also had 10 clean sheets, and like I said, he's still only 17. Then big Nathan Zizi started 47 games, 4 goals, 2 assists. Who wants him? On the Pilar, look, that's okay. As long as it's not a big team, we should be able to fight him off. He's honestly still not playing at La Liga level after a whole season, which is a little worrying. And like I said, we also brought Martin in, like I said, in January. 29 games played, 0 goals, 1 assist. Young Torres, who honestly is starting to look very, very good. He's only just turned 18, but like, look at all those green arrows going up. 42 games played, 1 goal, 11 assists. Obviously 26 assists last season was absolutely wild, but still getting 11 assists in your second season is very good, especially at 18. In our sort of makeshift right back, El Arouch played 45 games, 3 goals, 8 assists. I would like to see this go up. I feel like he's a way better caliber player. He should be getting a lot more. Who wants him? The Saudi League. Honestly, I would sell him if he was worth a lot more money, but look, if we were to get, say, Saudi League 18 to 20 million, I don't know, I might say yes. So then with us bringing Martin in, I ended up pushing Cospo, the guy that we loaned in, into defensive midfielder. He's capable of playing there, and look, I really wanted to play that young defensive midfielder. He got a wee bit of a niggle, and then that's when I ended up sort of doing this and moving him in the midfield. But look, he's young, very, very inexperienced. I just felt like it was a wee bit of a mistake on my part putting him in there, because he's just not ready. He doesn't have the stats, and I'm putting probably my love for bringing young players into the club ahead of the club actually winning games. So I ended up, like I said, about sort of like, I don't know, a couple months into the season, just I ended up putting more experienced players in defensive midfield. And like I said, he's 6'3", he's physical. I would love to keep him. Ideally, if I can get a wee bit of money, honestly, I may bring him back, because he played 42 games, 7 goals, 3 assists from DM. Then Hadji, who, like I said, always ends up playing really, really well. I highly recommend getting Hadji. If you can get a hold of him, he is very good. Don't let over here fool you. This man, if you put him in behind a striker, he will get you a ton of goals and assists. 43 games, 21 goals, 12 assists. Not bad for your first season. And then, of course, Ahamada playing him beside him. 20 games started, 23 off the bench, 3 goals, 2 assists. The only thing I've noticed about the Spanish league, obviously when you play in the Premiership, the valuations of players. Look, I'm not saying he's worth 60, 70 million, but he's worth more than 4.3 to 5.8. I would say he's at least a 10 to 15 million pound player. But look, I wish he was that, because then I would sell him on. He's also not even playing at a La Liga level either. Then, of course, young Stein, our left inside forward. Look, played 34 games, 8 goals, 9 assists. Would like this to go up a little bit, but look, he's only just turned 20 years old. I think this is one that's going to be really, really good. Obviously, look, his mental stats aren't fantastic. Ideally, in a real world, he would be a backup player to a really good Champions League team, but unfortunately we're not just there yet. Of course, we're in the Champions League next year and I hope we do better, but like, we're just going to have to every season increase the quality of players that we bring in, and we do have a lot of players who are not playing at a La Liga level yet, which is a little worrying because we need them to step up. Then the guy I expected to do really, really well, Simeon, our young Swedish player, didn't really do a lot, but obviously, look, first season, going to give him a wee bit of a bye ball. Played 41 games, 4 goals, 9 assists. He also had like 5 injuries. Like, if you go into his injuries, look at the injuries he had in like 26, 27. Like, he had 2 major injuries back to back, sprained knee ligaments and a twisted ankle, and then a couple of minors. He ended up getting, like I said, about 5 injuries over the time that we got him. Obviously, this is going to hinder your performances because, like, you're getting injured, you're coming back, you're getting injured, you're coming back. And hopefully, touch wood, he doesn't turn into Luke Shaw, because like, he doesn't have the injury prone trait, so I don't understand how he's getting niggled so much. And of course, the big man up top, who I thought would actually do really, really well, and he did. 49 games played, 33 goals, 6 assists. Who wants him? Fiorentina, we should be fine. And this is the great thing with our team, like I say, going in the next season, we only have one player who may not be here, who, if I can get a wee bit of cash, will be here next year, because I would like to bring him back in. Like I said, this whole team is really, really good. Honestly, like I said, if we want to do well in the Champions League, if I'm being brutally honest, Ivan, we need a better keeper. We probably need a better left back. Nathan's easy. Either needs to step up or we need to replace him. And then we also need a better centre midfield. I think the rest of this team, Martin is very, very good. Look, once again, he would be a good backup to a big Champions League team, but at least he's playing at a La Liga level. El Arouch, really, really good in there. Like I said, Hadji super happy with, and the front 3 super happy with. They just need a wee bit of time to gel. So this means we have like 5 positions that I would like to really, really strengthen. And I may have brought a few people in for the summer. Obviously, we had a wee bit of cash left over, so I went and got a few people on approach of signs and one player that I've actually paid money for. But boys, look, guaranteed Champions League football again. Didn't play well in the cup and get absolutely fucking obliterated in the Champions League. I would like to say it's all down to the teams that we played. Yes, that's okay, that's fine. Like, we did have a hard run, like Ajax, Chelsea, Sporting, Atletico, Inter Milan, AC Milan. But look, at some point, you have to get a wee draw or like a wee lucky win against some of those teams, and like we just didn't play great. I would love to say it is all the fixtures, but we played shit. But hopefully we can fix that next year. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's move over into season 5. So boys, then moving over into season 5, obviously there's a few things about the team I wanted to change. Defensively, I think we needed to strengthen that up a little bit. We're still scoring decent amount of goals. We scored, 83 last year. Obviously a wee bit down from the season before, but we're still scoring good goals. I feel like we're just conceding too much. And it's also annoying me up here that we've only won one league title. We need to win some trophies, boys, before we finish this save. But we were able to get some people out the door. Obviously people that didn't really overly want to sell, but they were players that had decent value, and I wanted to strengthen a few areas of the team. So one of the first people out the door was El Arouch. This is one we obviously talked about. We were able to get about 18 million. I think, yeah, 18 million. Look, we brought him in for absolutely nothing. Sold him on for 18 million. This is really, really good. I would have liked to get like above 20. I did try, but the Saudi League were going. Surprisingly, the Saudi League didn't want to give us an absolute bucket load of cash, but 18 million, especially for a team like us. Look, we don't have a lot of players that are worth a lot of money. So it's a pretty good sale for us. And the next one I was able to get out the door was young Hadji. Look, I know he's not young, but I call everybody that. Look, it's a player I overly didn't really want to sell, but once again, we don't have a lot of sellable assets. So I was able to get a total of 11 million for him. But I tried to wrangle 15. They were having absolutely none of it. But another player we got for absolutely nothing, we're able to sell on for 11 million. And that gives us a total of like 28 million. The board also gives us 12 million in transfer kitty. So that gives us about 40 million to play with. So one of the first players I brought in, Hernandez. This is actually one from an approach to sign last year. So we got him for absolutely nothing. Look, there's a few things in here. One, he's Spanish. He's only 23, but also on top of that, got a really good mentality, consistent, enjoys the big games. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, like I said, we got him for absolutely nothing. Really, really good footballer, good all round. Look, he's one of those ones, look, he can only improve slightly, but he's probably an upgrade on the players that we had. He's going to play in the centre of the park. The next one I was able to get on a free transfer was Reece Dess. Look, obviously we have a very young keeper, and let's be honest, he's probably leaked in a few goals just because of his inexperience. And let's be honest, he's not ready to be a first choice keeper, but we just didn't have any we didn't have any other options last year, so we just threw him in. And then I seen Reece Dess was available for an approach to sign, so I went in and signed him. But look, Reece Dess is honestly the capability to be a world-class keeper, and we got him for absolutely nothing, so I had to jump at the opportunity to get him in the door. He's a massive upgrade for us. Then the next one I got in on another free is Oliver Sorensen. This is more a wee bit of squad depth because we are going to need that, but he does have a few things. He's 6'2", he can play with both feet, amazing mentality, super consistent. He's only 26. He's really good all round. And like I said, we're going to need squad depth because that was the thing that absolutely cucked us last year in the Champions League and a wee bit of the Cups. Too many games and not a good enough squad. And that's okay. Like, I mean, that's going to happen. If we're being realistic, our squad was not ready for the Champions League yet. And I said that whenever we get into the Champions League the first season, when we were in there, I was just like, we're not ready. But we played anyway, and then unfortunately I proved myself right that we weren't ready and get absolutely obliterated. But look, that was the issue. We just didn't have enough squad depth, but also quality in squad. Then I also brought us in a young striker, Stefan van Ingen. And yeah, he went and got injured for the next 3 months. But this is one, he had a release clause. Look, 6 foot, 14 dribbling, 16 finishing, 15 first touch. Really, really good technique, good mental skills, 13 anticipation, 14 composure, 13 decision making, 15 flair, 15 work rate. Physical stats are also very, very good. He's also got a really good mentality. He's only 18 years old and he had a release clause of 3.1 million. So I went and activated. Obviously, we don't have, once again, a lot of squad depth and quality in squad depth up top, so I brought this young guy in to help us out a little bit. So then also with Hadji leaving, we were going to need somebody to play in the middle of the park beside Hernandez. I was searching around for obviously as many good Spanish players as I could, but they either already play for really, really good clubs or the young players are just massively too expensive. Like, they also have release clauses that are insane. I found a young guy, really, really good. He was probably a little bit better than this guy, but his release clause was like 80 million, and obviously we don't have that type of cash. This kid, Brazilian, 19 years old, really, really good mentality, reasonably good both feet, balance is good, natural fitness is good, mental stats are insane. There's a lot of 14s and 16s in there. 16 passing, 16 technique, 14 first touch. Only issue is he's only 5'7". There was another young Brazilian I was looking at that was like 6'2", but he wasn't just as good. I think that's the only thing we're kind of missing in the middle of the park is a wee bit of size and a bit of physicality. But once again, our options are very limited because we don't have a ton of cash. But this guy has a ton of potential. It's an upgrade on the players. I think he's as good as Hadji, and he's younger and he has room to improve. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we also got him for 6.7 million. In the next one I brought in is Thierry Henry. I'm joking. His name's actually just Thierry, but this one is going to play as our defensive midfielder. The things is, he's 19, 6'4", very strong with both feet, got a really, really good mentality. Look, mental stats are very, very good. He works hard, he can tackle, his technique is good, his passing's good. Obviously a few things to work on, but look, we got him for a pretty cheap price of 12 million. I think, honestly, this is an absolute steal. Once again, he had a release clause, but like I said, he's strong on both feet. I am going to work on his passing. If he go into his development, as a midfielder, work on his passing, because I do want him to be able to pass the ball. His passing is solid, so is the technique, but his vision is only 10, so I would like his vision to come up a little bit. But this one was more, he was cheap, 6'4", he can play with both feet, he's got room to improve, and like I said, once again, our options are very limited, but I think this is one that could be pretty good for the future, and like I said, up 6'4", it adds that wee bit of physicality into our team. Then I found this young flying machine. His name's Luis Gustavo. This is going to be our new right back. One strong on one foot, very strong with the other foot, which you know yourself is very, very hard to find. But he's got 14 crossing, mental stats are good, physical stats are good. Like I said, he's an absolute flying machine. I am going to work on, once again, a wee bit of ball control because it's only 11 and 11. I would like this to come up a little bit, but we had to pay a total of 14.2 million. He's had a release clause, so we went and paid it. Look, this is one, just he adds, once again, that wee bit of he's an absolute fly machine, a bit of physicality in the team, strong on both feet, really, really good mentality, and he's Brazilian, so they can automatically be good at football. Then this next one is absolutely massive. I ended up going and being able to get Maxime Lacroix. Paid probably a wee bit too much money for him, but the main thing is our back line is very, very young and very, very inexperienced, and I want us to stop leaking goals. So I brought Maxime Lacroix in. Like I said, it did cost us a wee bit of money because he was playing for Crystal Palace. 24.5 million, working its way up to 39, which look, for a fucking really, really good centre back. And like I said, he's 20 years old. We need experience in there. He's got a good mentality. He's super consistent, can play reasonably well, both feet, 6'3", so he's a good height, and he can play football, which is the main thing. So he's going to be able to carry the ball a wee bit more for us. So that means going into season 5, this is what the team looks like now. Reece Torres, the wee young left back, is going to have to play in there, but obviously I don't mind this. It's the only way he's going to improve, and he had 2 good seasons, 26 assists in his first season, 11 in his second season, so no, I mean, played really well. So Torres, Nathan Zizi is more likely going to play here. I'm going to give him a season and kind of just see how well he develops in beside Lacroix, and then obviously Gustavo, our right back, Henri Glunichi. Is that how you pronounce that? Glunichio? We're going to have to change that set of nickname. And Hernandez in the middle of the park. Stowing, I'm hoping Big Simeon can get a really, really good season. Obviously, look, I said he had a lot of injuries last year and just couldn't get going. So I'm hoping he doesn't get a lot of injuries. I feel like this kid has insane potential. And then obviously the big man up top. Our team, I feel like, is massively, massively improved. My prediction is still going to be the same. Stay in European football, push for Champions League football. But look, if we can get into Champions League football, I would say our team has massively improved this year. Our keeper, way better. Centre back, way better. Right back, we're going to have to wait and see how good he is. I feel like in the midfield, we've kind of pretty much stayed the same, and obviously the front line, but our back line and keeper has massively improved. So I feel like with them wee small things, we should be able to stay in Champions League football. But like I said, goal, stay in European football, push for Champions League football, and obviously we're in the Champions League this year. I would like to do a little bit better. I feel like we can reach at least the knockouts of the round of 16. I feel like the round of 16 is somewhere we should be pushing for. Obviously, pushing into the top 8 to automatically qualify for the round of 16 is going to be a little difficult, but like, we should definitely be pushing knockouts around of 16. I feel like just getting smashed in the group stage, I'm actually still pretty annoyed about it, I'm not going to lie. Like I said previously, we played a lot of really big teams, but that's not an excuse. We should have got like a better performance out of some of those games. We were getting beat by like 3 or 4 goals. So like, obviously terrible performances. So that's somewhere we need to massively improve. I would like to win the Spanish Cup at some point. I think the furthest we've got is the quarterfinals. Obviously, the 2 times we've got there, we got Barcelona and we got Real Madrid. It is what it is. Look, you're going to meet them at some point. Boys, that's enough messing about. Obviously, I'm not going to bring you back in January. I'm just going to let you see the players that we signed. I feel like it's way better. Instead of bringing you back in January, I just let you know in the summer who we signed. And then I would like to bring you back for hopefully a good youth intake at some point. But we do have some young players that are starting to develop a little bit. I would just like to get one good youth intake in one of these videos, boys, where I can just bring you back and be like, we got an absolute banger. It's been a few. I actually had to look. The last time that happened was the Girona save, which was probably about 3 months ago. So look, our team is way, way better, but that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 5. I'm hoping we can do better in the Champions League this year, boys. So boys, we're at the end of season 5. I'm not gonna lie, this has been so much fun. So everybody who voted on the poll for us to do Deportivo La Coruña, man, this has been a blast. Honestly, probably one of my favorite ones, because obviously starting from down in the 2nd division, working our way up, we've had to fight and kind of just sort of bring in young players on loan and stuff. Like, we've just got to the point now we're getting our own team, we're starting to make a wee bit of cash as well, which is obviously nice, and then the board's actually giving us a decent transfer budget and stuff. But boys, honestly, wanted to just keep doing what we're doing in the league. We're absolutely killing it. Obviously, staying in that top 4 is ideal for us to stay in Champions League football. Do better in the Champions League this year would be perfect, because we weren't great last year, were we, boys? And also move a little further in the cup. But all in all, let's jump over, see how we did in the league. So we started things off with a fantastic 2-0 win over Valencia, because like, they have been really good the last while. We then also had a ridiculous match against Barcelona. They ended up beating us 6-5, which honestly, if you were watching, probably a fantastic game. 11 goals in one match. We then also had a nice 3-0 win over Atletico Madrid. We somehow then managed to beat Real Madrid. And with all those good results, boys, we finished up in 3rd. Look, it may not seem a lot to most people, but going up 1 position is absolutely massive. It means we are now part of the top 3 or 4 big boys in the league. Not gonna lie to you, we had to play Real Sociedad in the last game of the season. It was getting pretty close. It was down to the last 2 games who came 3rd or 4th. Obviously, look, it means nothing with regards to like overall football, because like the top 4 stay in the Champions League anyway. But I wanted to guarantee that we were the ones just in behind Barcelona. Obviously, we're still a good part behind, but look, we've built a fantastic team. We've took a team that has went from the 2nd division was absolutely terrible. You all debated me, by the way, whenever you told me to fucking go and rebuild this team. This team was so old. Like, vast majority of people were all in their sort of like early to mid 30s. We had to rebuild, and I think we've done very, very well. Did 38 games, 25 wins, 3 draws, 10 losses, still a little high, but look, obviously, we're not a Barcelona and Real Madrid. We're going to have some losses. We had 46 goal difference, which once again, just keeps improving and improving every season. 78 points, which is absolutely fantastic. Real Madrid won with 102 and 91 for Barcelona, which I think that's the second season Real Madrid's had over 100 points. So like, their team's absolutely insane in this game. One of the fun things for me is obviously having one of our strikers in the top 3. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you, for most of the season he was top. When I come back in January he was top, when I come back in April he was top. So Victor Osimhen at some point has just pipped him. Obviously breaking into the average ratings is going to be wide. Like, you look at that, Kylian Mbappe, Rafael Leao now also plays for Barcelona, Dani Olmo. But our new midfielder had 19 assists. We also, I'll turn my camera off so you can see us. Boys, one thing they'll never beat us in, fucking yellow cards. They can't take us away. They can't take it away from us, boys. We have everybody. So Thierry, obviously our young defensive midfielder, Lacroix, and Pedro. I have no idea who the hell Pedro is. I know he's in the B team. Honestly, not bad. I'm guessing he probably filled in. Yeah, he filled in a right back at some point for a few games. So we only managed to play like 6 games and get 9 yellow cards. I can appreciate that. No clean sheets, which means obviously our defense was about hope a lot better than what it was last year. Player of the matches, nobody in there. Up the team overall stats, most points per game, we're in 3rd. Most goals, 101, 97. We had 93, which is absolutely fantastic. Most shots for, we're 4th. Fierce shots against, we're actually up in there for the first time, which is absolutely fantastic. Most clean sheets, we're in 6th, which is fantastic. Fewest conceded, we're joint 7th. So that just shows the massive improvements we've made. Look, he did what? Scored 93 goals and conceded 47. All in all, would have liked our defense to be a little less leaky, but look, we've built a really, really good team, and this is amazing. The fact that we've stayed in Champions League football for so long, I think it's fair to say, boys, we've done Deportivo La Coruña proud. I'm really, really happy with this, but let's go see how we did in the cup. So we start things off in the first round of the cup against Zentia. We beat them 7-0. In the second round, we faced off against Linares. We beat them 4-1. In the third round, we had to go the whole way to penalties to get to the next round. In the fourth round, we faced off against Leganés. We ended up beating them 4-2. That took us to the quarterfinals, where unfortunately we faced off against Real Madrid. I feel like every time we've got to the quarterfinals, we always face off against Real Madrid or Barcelona. Like, we can never get past here because we're facing one of the top teams all the time. But look, all in all, making it to the quarterfinals again, I would have liked to push and get a little further. But look, all in all, their team's absolutely ridiculous. So look, we did the quarterfinals. Look, Champions League football, finished 3rd, quarterfinals of the cup. Let's go and see how we did in the Champions League now. So we started things off in the league phase against St. Gallen. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know who they are. Where are they from? The Swiss Super League? Okay, fair play to them for making it the whole way to the Champions League phase. And somehow we managed to draw 1 each with them. But we stopped messing about against Bayer Leverkusen. We ended up smashing them 5-0. We then got battered by Liverpool, but this one I'm kind of okay with how good Liverpool's team is. But this one I was not okay with, getting beat 4-0 by Fiorentina. Obviously, us having a man sent off in the 7th minute didn't really help us, and then also getting Rees injured. But all in all, this is a team we should be beating. But after that, we ended up turning things around and going on a wee bit of a rampage. We ended up beating Celtic 5-2, which, you know, Celtic, just for some reason, the same as Tottenham, just seem to do really well in this database. We then also obliterated Fenerbahce 7-0. We then also beat Bayern Munich 2-1. Then in our final league phase match, we ended up beating Sporting 2-1. So that meant in the league phase, we ended up finishing 9th, which is very, very good. We were on the same points. Honestly, do you know what cost us? 4-0 defeat to Fiorentina. Even if we would have got a draw out of that, that means we would have been straight up in the automatic qualification, which is absolutely... If you look where we finished last year, down here, we brought on a better centre back, we brought on a better keeper, like tweaked a few things, a new right back and stuff. It shows you the massive difference like a couple of small changes can make to your team. Which then took us to the knockouts, where we faced off against Inter Milan. We ended up somehow beating them at the San Siro 2-1, but we weren't done there. We ended up also beating them 2-1 at home, so we ended up going through 4-2 in aggregate to the round of 16, where we faced off against the nuisance that is Celtic, but we ended up beating them 3-1 in the first leg, and it's just as well we did, because at Celtic Park they ended up beating us 3-2, but we went through 5-4 in aggregate, where we faced off against PSG. They beat us 1-0. They also have Gao Keres, which just makes them absolutely ridiculous. Kvaratskhelia also missed a penalty, so this could have been 2-0, but they beat us 1-0 in the night, which in the second leg means we still had a chance. And did we take that chance by the scruff of the neck? We ended up beating them 2-0 to go through 2-1. The fucking semi-finals of the Champions League, where our boys don't get too excited because we faced off against Real Madrid and yeah, they obliterated us 3-1 in the first leg. But we did give a good account of ourselves in the second leg. We ended up beating them 1-0. Honestly, this is a crazy turnaround. Going from where we finished last year to making it to a semi-final, honestly, I couldn't believe it whenever I seen the results, whenever I came back. It was like, there's no fucking way. I just noticed that Real Madrid also have Rasmus Højlund. Hold on. What did they pay for him? 100 million! You're wrong. In FM, he's unreal. Like, look at him. He's absolutely disgustingly good. But goddamn, bro, a Champions League semi-final, which honestly I still can't get over. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So so far we got third in the league and got ourselves in Champions League football, quarterfinals of the Champions League, and semi-finals. Reaching the semi-finals is absolutely wild. Like, honestly, joking aside, I can't actually get over it. I didn't think we were gonna. Honestly, if I'm being realistic, after how we performed last year, and obviously we brought in Reece and Lecroix. Reece actually looks disgustingly good right now. Obviously, and then bring them in, upgrading our right back as well, and like we made our team a lot better. I was thinking, like I was being deadly honest with you. I thought round of 16. I thought round of 16 would have been a very, very good spot for us to finish with the upgrades that we've made to our team. But look, hey, I'm not going to say no if we can go to the semi-final. So big Reece, like I said, looks absolutely wild considering the dude we got for free. 54 games played, conceded 68, which is going down every season, and 17 clean sheets. Then, of course, big Nathan Ceci seemed to play a decent part of the season. Another one I would highly recommend upgrading. He played 45 games, 0 goals, 1 assist. Then big Lecroix played 55 games, 7 goals, 2 assists. Yeah, he's also wanted by Liverpool, so good luck, boys. Young Torres at left back had a wee bit of a quieter season. Played 32 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. But look, 26 assists in his first season, 11 last year, and then only getting 5 this year. I know he had a few injuries here and there, that's why when he played 32 games, so obviously hard to get a wee bit of momentum when you're just stopping and starting, but I would have liked him to get a wee bit more than 5. Then of course the young man that we just brought in, Luis Gustavo, our new right back, 43 games played, 3 goals, 15 assists. He also had a 7.3 for the season, so obviously this was a really, really good signing. Football Manager just likes people that are really quick. And one of the ones I was super interested to see how well he had done was Thierry, our new DM, the one that's like 6'4", very strong on both feet. Played 56 games, which is absolutely insane. 8 goals and 11 assists, so like 19 goal involvements from defensive midfield. Not bad for your first season. Benicio, our new centre midfielder, 55 games played, 16 goals and 13 assists, which is absolutely wild. Really good for your first season. The kid's only just turned 19. Look how good he also looks as well. Honestly, little inconsistent, does have the injury prone trait, but all in all, look, a very, very good talent for a team like us. And then Hernandez, the guy that we actually got on a free this year, 51 games played, 25 goals and 21 assists. We had 46 goal involvements in 51 games. Look, not bad for a guy we had absolutely nothing for. So in January, we did end up losing somebody, and that was Alexandru Stoyan. He ended up going to Napoli for a total of 20 million. Look, we paid 2.9 million for him, got 20 for him. I tried to get his release clause of 30 million, but they were having none of it. And I'd already agreed a person to come in because he wanted to leave. It initially started off with the Saudi League wanted him. He wanted to go. We got like 25 million for him in and around our 25, 26 million. So I obviously started getting a replacement, and then he rejected the Saudi League, and I'd already brought that person in. It was like, fuck, here we go again. Then lucky enough, Napoli came in, offered us 20 million. Honestly, I just took it straight away. I was like, just take him, get him out of the team. He wants to leave. Look, all in all, really, really good player, and we made a good profit on him, which means I had to get a replacement for him in January, which, you know, sometimes you get your pants pulled down for the price, but I was able to find Cobel Soy, who is one Spanish, had a release clause of 9 million, so we sold Stolen on for 20 million, and got him for 9. And he look very, very good. Look, acceleration of 15, pace of 15, good natural fitness, good stamina, little one-footed, but he's got 19 agility, 16 balance, 15 dribbling, 15 first touch, good crossing. So played 32 games, obviously only brought him in January, 8 goals, 9 assists, and he's still only 22 years old. And he's also Spanish. Then the big man I was hoping would have a wee bit of a better season, which is Big Simeone, our Swedish player. Yeah, he also wants to leave and go to a stronger club, so you may end up having to sell him. Or if you can just make your reputation a lot better, you may end up being able to hold on to him. I couldn't spit that out, but he played 53 games, 11 goals, 15 assists, and a 7.1 for the season. He looks very, very good. In his contract, he does have a 70 million release clause, so if you are going to get rid of him, I would say try and get the release clause at least out of him. Or, like I said, if you just increase your reputation, he is one that's weird because he doesn't have the injury prone trait, right? It says it over here, but that's just because he's currently injured again. And when these injuries, like he had another 3 or 4 injuries this season, which is absolutely insane. Like I don't understand. He seems to be injury prone, even though he's not injury prone. Then of course the big man up top, Sean Dillis, Modeb, another one that had a very, very good season. 49 games played, 38 goals and 5 assists. At one point, Man City were looking at him, but they never come in and put an offer in for him. Look, he's one, does have a release clause. It's only 40 million, but look, we paid a total of what, 8 million for him. If you get 40 million for him, you once again get a 32 million pound profit. On top of this, the board have also given us a decent transfer budget of 25 million. Of course, you could move this around a little bit and work your way up to 31 million, but obviously you're going to have no wage thing then. But all in all, man, with this team, I am very, very happy. I think we've built something really good. I'm so happy with how this save has went. Joking aside, I have had a lot of fun, like I said at the start of this. It's something different coming into the second division, bringing them up, and then obviously we had to play it smart. We could only bring certain players in certain positions because we only had a certain amount of cash. It's nice going from like sort of bigger clubs to moving to someone a little bit smaller, and then obviously like they have this reputation. Obviously, like I said, I always remember Diego Tristan being at the club, so I think we've done them proud. Look, we've got them up into fighting for Champions League football in the league. Obviously, we're still a wee bit behind Real Madrid and Barcelona. That's going to be your goal when you take the save on, because the save file, the corner routine, the updated database, and the tactic will all be in the pinned comments for you to go and pick up once this video goes live. So that's your goal. Topple Barcelona and Real Madrid at the top of the league, and then let me know how you get on. Please let me know. I'm always super interested to see how people get on with the saves that I leave off, because I think this is a good spot for us to stop off. We've done very, very well. We've brought them from the second division the whole way up into fighting for Champions League football, doing well in the cups, and we just had a fantastic season in the Champions League. I think this is a good spot to stop off, and like I said, this is a good spot for you to take the save on yourself. Roll through, see if you can win the Champions League, see if you can win the cup, and on top of that, also see if you can topple Barcelona and Real Madrid at the top of the La Liga. That's going to be your goals. I think you'll be able to do well. There's a lot of really, really young, talented players in this club as well. Like I said, you do have young Torres at left back, who I still think has a long way to go with regards to potential. Gustavo is absolutely fantastic at right back. Thierry is an absolute unit of a player. He really is. Of course, Simeone, I would try and keep hold of and just try and increase the reputation of the club, because he's a ridiculously good player. Then on top of that, in the under 19s, you also do have Hadi Hashimi, the centre back we got. I did loan him out for the season. You do also have another really, really good defensive midfielder in Roberto Carlos Candelias. It's the wee guy that we brought up but I put back down. Has 20 determination, really, really good mentality. He's also Spanish, is a little shorter at 5'9", so there's going to be a huge difference between him and Thierry, but it means you've also got somebody who could maybe play in the centre midfielder on attack role too, because he's got good passing and good technique. On top of that, don't also forget that we also have young Ivan, the young keeper. There is one keeper that I was going to go and get for you. I want to recommend, if you do want to go and get another keeper and have like 2 really good keepers. So if you go over into the scouting and go over to the far right, as you can see, I have my default shortlist, the Spanish Wonder Kids that are in the game, and then there's the normal Wonder Kids. If you go to the normal Wonder Kids list, go up to the top, the keepers, it's this guy here, Alejandro Canteros. I'm not going to lie to you, he's got a release clause of 5.4 million. I don't want to activate this. I don't want to buy players for you whenever you take the save on, if I want you to make the option for yourself. But I would highly recommend going to ban him and just loan him out, or you could sell Ristes and have him as your number 1 keeper. But the only thing is, he's Argentinian, so you already have 3 players in the team that are registered as non-EU. So I would bring him into the team, loan him out for a couple of seasons. Obviously, your 2 other players only have like 140 days left before they're Spanish citizens. The 3 players, Thierry, Gustavo, and the other kid, I can never remember his name, that plays in midfield for us. I have a memory of a goldfish. I would bring this kid in for 5.4 million and loan him out, and then wait till they're non-EU players and then just register him as your main keeper. I think he will be way better than Ristes. Or if you just want to have 2 disgustingly good keepers, he's a good option. And like I said, I'm very, very happy with how this save went. Like I said, everybody who voted on the poll, thank you very, very much. This was a lot of fun. I'm not too sure who we're going to do yet. Obviously, I'm going to put a poll up on the community page, so when this video goes live, check the community page if you want to see who we're going to play with next. I've got a few ideas of who I want to play with. I want to keep doing the same thing, like sort of taking teams that used to be really good and like bringing them back up. Obviously, Parma is one of those teams I would like to really do, because I feel like Parma have just like fallen off. Like Parma used to be a really good team in Italy, and then they've just absolutely fell off between like money problems and stuff. It happens a lot in Italy. But boys, like I said, I appreciate all the support on all the videos. The Brighton video had like over 1,000 views in the first 24 hours. So if we could do that again on this video, it'd be absolutely fantastic. But like I said, I think that's a good spot to stop off for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. What if you fucking want to on YouTube? Appreciate it all. This was a lot of fun.